Welcome back to Impact Kenya with me, Jason Nyantino. Tonight we are focusing on the war against corruption. What is the magic bullet that is going to bring down this monster that has bedeviled this country for decades? Eric, before we go back to the audience, there's this, we know that we are talking about war against corruption, but there's another war between DPP and DCI. They've come up with another war. What do you have to comment about it?
It's indeed a very regrettable situation. We are having, I think, in my view, a case of misunderstanding of what the law should be. The Constitution has given the DPP the mandate to prosecute, and so therefore, the ultimate person with the constitutional responsibility in terms of who should be charged is the DPP. But the investigators work extremely close with the DPP. They investigate and they make recommendations that based on our investigations, we believe that there is enough evidence to sustain a criminal charge. The DPP then reviews the evidence and makes a decision whether to charge or not. That is the constitutional architecture, in as much as some of our laws may read otherwise in terms of the Criminal Procedure Code. But the Constitution dictates that when you are reading laws that were enacted before the promulgation of the Constitution, then those laws should be read with the necessary modifications so that it is in consonance with the Constitution.
Now, Eric, it's now 12 years since the new Constitution was promulgated. Surely the penal code has never been revised?
There's been piecemeal amendments to the penal code. I think it's long overdue for a complete overhaul, for it to reflect the current realities in the society. But I think that this is a matter which ought to have been handled differently. It's a question of interpretation, and the two gentlemen can actually sit somewhere and agree, because I don't think there is a lot of confusion in the eyes of the lawyers, both at DCI and at the DPP, in terms of who has the constitutional mandate to prefer a charge. So that is not really a question for debate.
All right.
It's in my view,
they should sit and
they
agree.
should just sit and resolve that.
Okay.
What the High Court did, the Justice Murima's decision did, was to even prescribe a format of a charge, which I think is what has brought all these issues. That if it is the DPP who has the constitutional authority to charge, then even the charge sheet, we should depart from the prior charge sheet we used to have, which bears the insignia of the police, to a charge sheet that then bears the insignia of the DPP.
All right.
So that was the High Court decision, which I think then was some sort of a departure from the practice that we were used to. Because before then, the police would prepare the charge sheet, it would come to court, the DPP would endorse before it is presented before a magistrate. So you can see that the High Court decision didn't change much other than just saying that the format of the charge sheet should now change to show that it is the DPP and not the police.
Okay.
Yes.
Sheila, what do you have to say about this?
No, it's worrying to see, our institutions which are charged to tackle crime at different levels, whether it is investigation or prosecution, go as far as taking each other to court, suing and countersuing and so on. I feel that over the last couple of years, 5 years or so, there have been a number of, a tough war is what I would call, like every institution seems to want to claim its space, yeah, and possibly go a little maybe to someone else's space. But I believe that because we have these forums where they should be able to discuss these issues, and we should actually call them out, because I then wonder how, at this point, some of these criminal charges are then being preferred if we have this kind of standoff, and what does it then mean in terms of resolution of cases that Kenyans may have. All these are institutions that are benefiting or that are paid by taxpayers. I think you can't put taxpayers through this kind of issues.
Maybe, I know Eric has a lot of mediators. Maybe you need to give them a mediator free of charge. Don't charge them. Maybe it might give us a solution. My next question is from Brian Ochola, all the way from Homa Bay County. Brian, your question.
It is on record that Kenya loses 2 billion each day due to corruption. Can we blame corruption for the high cost of living witnessed in the country?
Thank you. What do you think, George Collins?
It's very interesting that 98% of county governments in the Republic of Kenya has either gotten adverse opinion or qualified opinion. That's very interesting.
From who?
From the Auditor General's office.
Okay. That is for the record. We can take that.
Yes, that is for the
to
records.
the bank.
Yes.
Okay.
So what is interesting is, Corona also came up with new ideas, and one of the ideas was sanitization. So depending on which political divide you are in, then you can get scot-free. But what worries me is that when you look at the Public Finance Management Act, there are systems and standards on how you should even get resources, especially after counting on the ones that you've had. But if you look at our county governments, and I stand to be corrected, none of these county governments has received less than 80B for the past 9 or 10 years or so. The question is, do we see value for money? The other question is, can we see what 80B has done in our respective counties? I want to tell you for free that part of the issues that have been raised are issues of surrendering per diems. Those are issues that are very key. Where
that is fine, but going back to his question, do you think corruption is contributing to the high cost of living?
It is contributing, and not only that, it is also planned. And that's why I'm bringing that background. That corruption in Kenya is designed. It has a logical framework. It has indicators and how it is supposed to move. And this is something that must be addressed by every single Kenyan in this country. And you can even link it with what we've just talked about DCI and the office of the DPP. Why can't these people realize that these are officers that are paid by taxpayers and they remove themselves from those offices? So if a whole head of a Republic of Kenya, because that is where the reference comes from, qualified that indeed we lose that kind of money every year. And recently, we are also told that he's actually surrendering that battle to somebody else. Then there is a problem. It's either we Kenyans, we are the ones who have a problem, or the people we put in the office are the ones who have a problem.
Okay.
And this has to be solved by us.
Thank you. I want to spread this debate a little bit. This is actually the cost of corruption. That is what Brian is talking about. And I've got some interesting revelations here. The president is the one who came out in public some years back and said, I think beginning of last year, that we lose 2 billion every day to corruption. That translates to in a year will be about 700 billion plus, okay? Now, the cost of, hear this, the cost of the Nairobi Expressway, as we know it today, is about 65 to 70 billion. So you can see what we lose to corruption in a year can give us 10 and over expressways. That is not enough. The Teacher Service Commission says there are over 300,000 teachers out there who can't be employed because of lack of funds. This money that we lose daily can actually employ all these teachers and employ all the doctors and health workers. So that is the conversation we need to have as a country. And I'm coming to you, Philip. You're in EACC. Cost of corruption. How do we deal with this issue?
I'm glad you have connected corruption with our standard of living. You know, a lot of people have this attitude that this money is somewhere else. It is being stolen by other people. It doesn't affect us. In fact, there's a very rude expression where people say, kwani ni ya mama yako? You understand what I mean? So we need to associate the effect of corruption with our own lives. Back to this issue of 2 billion per day, I think context is important. The statistics that are out there, and mind you have to take the statistics with a pinch of salt, because there is no empirical formula to measure corruption, because some forms of corruption cannot be measured accurately. But the data that is out there suggests that Kenya is losing about 700 billion per year. So when you extrapolate it backwards, that's how it comes to the 2 billion per day. Now that doesn't mean that there is somebody with a gunia of 2 billion running out of Kenya with that money. It just simply means that that is a general cost of corruption. The other statistic that might be useful is the one that is related to GDP. We are losing 25% of GDP through corruption. So if you look at Kenya's GDP, just do the arithmetic, 25% of that, and you can break it down to the number of days. But we need to connect the effect of what we are losing through corruption to our life. So for instance, if you can't get enough money for your bursary, it's because somebody ate that money. If you need to go to a private hospital, it's because somebody ate the money for a public hospital. If you have to send your kids to public schools, private schools and private universities, because somebody has taken that money. So we need to make this connection so that the next time you have an opportunity to vote leaders, you vote in leaders with integrity.
Thank you. Thank you. I've run out of time. I want to give each of you about 10 seconds to give your closing comments. I'll start with Eric.
Thank you so much. I think the responsibility to infuse hygiene in our public affairs lies with all of us. So we either fail collectively or we prosper collectively.
Thank you. Sheila.
The cost of corruption, we see it every day. Every time you have to take your breakfast, you have to take your tea and bread, and then you realize how much we are paying for corruption because we can barely afford our basic commodities. So my appeal to Kenyans is that we have, as we think about the elections, let us engage leaders with integrity. And that responsibility lies squarely with citizens. You are at the last line of defense, and the future of this country is dependent on the decisions that you will make at the ballot.
Thank you. George?
It is up to us to take that mandate and ensure that Kenya moves to the next level on 9th August 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. Philip?
On the part of EACC, allow me to say that EACC has done its job. There is not a day that goes by without you seeing a report from our media platforms that somebody has been arrested, somebody has been charged, somebody has been convicted, and assets have been recovered. However, as Sheila mentioned, the last piece of this puzzle is the citizen. You have the responsibility. The responsibility of fighting corruption cannot be left to law enforcement agencies. You have to play your part. And one of the most important things you can do is on 9th of August, vote in leaders who have integrity.
Thank you, and that's where the curtains fall for this week's edition of Impact Kenya with me, Jason Nyantino. And indeed, this is our last episode in this season, the first season of this series. We come back again later after the election. And as we vote, Kenyans out there, let's maintain peace before, during, and after the August 9th. We have a country to keep. Let's maintain peace. I thank my panel and my studio audience for that wonderful discussion, and to all of you at home for watching. You can still be part of this discussion by answering this question. Are you satisfied with the way corruption is being tackled by government agencies? Are you satisfied with the way corruption is being tackled by government agencies? Let's get to know what you think through the contacts on your screen. And on behalf of my production crew, it's good night and bye-bye. See you soon.